has helped thousands of people around the world discover the strongest version of themselves. Welcome to the Wolf Official Show. And now, here's your host, Carl Wolfgang Schultz.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into the show. I recently finished a book called Understanding the Mysteries of Human Behavior, and I just want to summarize the book for you. The book has 24 chapters, but there's no way I'll be able to go through all of them in complete and total detail. So what I'll do instead is I'll give you my brief opinion on each chapter. Let's start with Chapter 1. What I took from Chapter 1 is that humans have the ability to use their minds to imagine things in the future. In Chapter 2, the question was, how did human nature evolve? One of the big key takeaways is that aggression is not as important as it once was back in time. In Chapter 3, we learn that extroverts are more likely to smoke. In Chapter 4, we talk about siblings who experience the same things growing up, but have two totally different perceptions on what actually happened. In Chapter 5, we learn about low self-esteem and how it causes many of today's society problems, and that raising your self-esteem may actually increase the country's budget. In Chapter 6, we learn a little bit more about emotions. We learn that people who experience the same event may in fact react in much different ways emotionally. In Chapter 7, we learn about what makes people happy. Happy people are known to spend more time with family and friends, and there's pleasure in having quality relationships. In Chapter 8, we learn that we live in a delayed environment. It's not like how it used to be. In fact, you can look around and see how there is no immediate reward for things nowadays. Using school as an example, the payoff doesn't happen until you graduate. In Chapter 9, we learn about feelings and why they hurt. Hurt feelings let us know when our connections with other people might be damaged. In Chapter 10, we find out why people make mountains out of molehills, and that overreacting to disrespect when it really doesn't matter can be costly and ruin relationships. You should not express your anger like they do in the movies. In Chapter 11, we learn about self-control and why it's so hard. We see that successful people plan ahead to avoid strong temptations, and that always constantly thinking about your goals can help you avoid temptation. In Chapter 12, we see that people remember things when they commit to memorizing them. We really want to remember everything that happened in our life, or do we? In Chapter 13, we learn about subliminal messages. This part really interested me because we subconsciously do or buy things even when we are shown an advertisement for a fraction of a second. Your emotions are affected by pictures that you don't even see because they're still being shown to you, no matter the rate that they're shown. In Chapter 14, we see that dreams are still a mystery, and that there may not be any sense in trying to figure out what you dreamed about, because researchers still don't know why we dream. Chapter 15. Why are people so full of themselves? We see that most people think they're better than average, and that individuals who are successful and humble are also admirable. In Chapter 16, we learn about psychic abilities, and that with better research, we'll know even more about if psychic abilities exist or not. In Chapter 17, we talk about why adolescents don't behave like adults. We see that adolescents are more prone to impulsive and risky behaviors. They tend to take the most risks, and when they're with their peers, they can actually be dangerous. Furthermore, adults may also act in similar ways as adolescents when they're in groups. In Chapter 18, we ask the question, how much do men and women really differ? There are some important aspects to the differences between men and women, but for the most part, they don't differ as much as we think. In Chapter 19, we talk about why do we care what others think of us? The author argues that we behave in ways that will make the best impression. In Chapter 20, we talk about prejudice and conflict and why they're common. Some people enjoy distinguishing themselves as us versus them and put people in categorical groups that can often cause hatred. In Chapter 21, we ask the question, why do people fall in and out of love? We learn about oxytocin as a chemical that gets released in loving relationships, and that people often have unrealistic expectations about love, and that can be a problem early on. In Chapter 22, we ask, what makes relationships succeed or fail? We learn that close, intimate relationships with partners are an essential part of life. We also learn that people stay in unhappy relationships when they don't think the alternatives will be any better. In Chapter 23, we learn about blushing and why people blush. It's easy to tell when someone's blushing because their face turns red, but the interesting thing is that you can't make yourself blush. Really, it can't be faked. People blush when they receive undesired attention. Lastly, in chapter 24, we learn a few more mysteries that we still can't explain yet. We learn about laughter, kissing, art, and consciousness. Consciousness is the last mystery because, again, how are we aware of ourselves and the world around us? Thank you for listening to this book review. I hope you found it valuable. Please visit my blog at wolfofficial.com so you can get a more detailed view of what the book was about. Thank you and have a good day.